Okay, hi everyone. This is Kirsten. I am just going to give you a brief and informal overview of our final project for COM 318. I encourage you to open all of the documents, including the final project, the data, and the written assignment, and I'll kind of work through the sheet that you have in front of you and then switch back and forth between all three, going over my expectations orally, period. So overall, the assignment is worth 200 points. There are two parts, 75 points each, are a trifold brochure or video and a flyer. Then the 50-point otherwise is a written assignment. The written assignment is going to be due on the 1st of December, and you can receive feedback from me following that before you turn in your final project, the brochure slash video or flyer, by the 5th. And then everything will be turned in by the 8th, which will approach sooner rather than later. So overall, the objectives are to create a coherent health campaign. This last module, we focused on data measurement and campaigns, and in this final project, we're going to apply those skills into hopefully something that you can include in a portfolio. I divided the assignment into 4 sort of steps, and these follow the 5 steps, the 5 steps of social marketing. So the first step here is planning, and this is kind of the assignment that I'm providing for you. So your overarching goal is to persuade Purdue undergraduates to get a flu shot. So your call to action will be to get a flu shot for the reader or the audience that you are trying to reach. In order to get the audience to go through with your call to action, you are going to have 2 creative artifacts. The first option is a flyer. So everyone's going to be making a flyer. And this is just something that you would hang on a bulletin board around campus that's easy on the eye and includes really basic information. The second artifact, you have 2 options. The first is going to be a brochure, and the brochure is going to be a trifold brochure. There is a link in Blackboard of some examples of these options. The brochure can be, you can download templates from online Word or make one yourself, but it should be a trifold. The second option is to create a video, and this should be something very short that would be included on some sort of social media site. So overall, you will do 1 flyer, and you will create either a brochure or a video. Please note that all of the materials that you're creating are for a hypothetical campaign, so none of this will be dispersed around campus. The second step of the social marketing process is theory, and I'm providing you with a theory to use. So we're going to use the theory of reasoned action. We've used this many times throughout the semester, and you've actually wrote a little blurb about it in your Module 2 homework, and there's some text in the book about the theory as well. So re-familiarize yourself with the theory before you start in this process. But overall, you're going to be using theory to guide a messaging strategy in order to reach your target audience. So make sure you understand what the variables are and how you would use those variables or how those variables work in order to persuade a behavior change on behalf of your audience. The third step is formative research. So if you are going to be working at some sort of marketing agency, you would be creating formative research by sending out surveys to your target audience and seeing kind of where they at, assessing attitudes, beliefs, behaviors. For this project, I've already conducted the formative research for you via a survey that was disseminated to Purdue undergraduate students in the spring of 2016. The data that was collected followed along with the theory of reasoned action, and so the output data should match the variables that are described in the textbook, and that should help you with understanding the expectations and better apply the data with your theory. I'm going to come back to the formative research side and go over the data file with you briefly, but for right now we're going to move over to implementation. This is the last step of the social marketing that we're going to be talking about. And in this case, you're pretty much just going to be implementing the data and the theory into some sort of creative artifact. So when you go to create your artifact, I would encourage you to download some templates from online and try to make them as professional as possible. Again, this is a hypothetical campaign and no material will actually be disseminated. Okay. Now, just to go over the rubric. So I have two sort of mini rubrics created. The first is for the flyer. Please upload the flyer in a PDF format. That way there's just no chance that I won't be able to view the file format that you submit. Within the rubric, there are three major categories: messaging, data, and design. So messaging is how well did you persuade your audience to get a flu shot through the words and the visuals that you chose to use. So the first thing is there a clear call to action? And that means the go get your flu shot now kind of moment in the flyer. Second, do you tailor to your target audience? So is the flyer that you created appropriate for someone in their young 20s, approximately? Did you demonstrate understanding of the reason action model? So can I see specific variables within your flyer that are referencing the reason action model? And you can do this through a variety of ways. It does not necessarily have to be using the variable title, but do you consider social norms when you're creating your flyer by including images of parents or peers? And then lastly, do you demonstrate understanding of the health topic, so a flu shot? So this is kind of a preventative measure to make sure that you're not disseminating fake information. So if you want to talk about a flu shot, be sure that you accurately talk about what the flu shot does and don't include what we would now call sort of fake news. Okay, now moving on to data. This is also worth 25 points. And this is how well you're able to support your argument to get a flu shot. And you can do this through quantitative or qualitative measures. The data that I provided to you is all in quantitative measures, but you can take that and summarize it into a qualitative format. You would not be able to include all of the data within the data file, but you should pick out some key components that really make your message stand out for the audience member. You need to include some secondary research on the topic, and this would be most likely directly related to what a flu shot is. So the data file that I provided is only about the attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors of the audience regarding flu shots. It does not actually talk about what a flu shot is or how it prevents the spread of a virus. Lastly, design. So this is just referring to how professional is the flyer that you create. The flyer should be grammatically correct and include an appealing artistic theme. Keep in mind that a flyer is something that you put on a bulletin board, so it needs to be eye-catching and simple and to the point. Okay, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about a trifold brochure or the 1-minute video. So you can choose either of these two options. The trifold brochure should be submitted in a .pdf file, just like the flyer. The video should be about 1 minute long and be uploaded to YouTube. And then when you submit your assignment, you would just include the YouTube link for me to view. Make sure that your privacy settings will allow me to view it, so you can do this by setting it to anyone with this link can view or just making the video a public video. So you are welcome to choose either the brochure or the video. The messaging and data rubric points are the same as the flyer, so you need to make sure that there's a call to action, such as get your flu shot today. Make sure that you're considering your target audience again and use the theory appropriately when incorporating data from the provided survey and outside research. Lastly, the design. I would really like it if the flyer and the brochure or video were all sort of coherent and going with the same theme as if they were appearing in the same health campaign. So please try to make them look a little bit the same. And then keep in mind with the brochure, this would be something that would appear in a doctor's office. So it can have a little bit more textual description, whereas the flyer would be a lot more visual. But make sure that it's still eye appealing and that it is not like a boring read for the reader. The YouTube video also needs to be professional. So if you want to videotape yourself or sort of do some ASAP science type of video, that's all fine. Feel free to be creative in your approach. Just make sure that your end product is professional. If you have any questions throughout this assignment, please do not hesitate to reach out. So you're welcome to make an appointment with me at Purdue, or we can Skype if you're traveling. I'm on Purdue's campus most weeks, 5 days a week, so I'm happy to talk with you. Keep in mind that Thanksgiving break is approaching quickly, so don't wait until the very last minute to do this assignment. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the data. So I'm providing you with a rather large document that's going to give you a huge amount of data that you can use to support your creative artifacts. The first page describes the variables that are used throughout the data. So we have attitude, perceived behavioral control, subjective norms, issue importance, and behavioral intent. These are all directly related to the theory of reasoned action, so keep that in mind. There are two different types of statistics that are given in this file. If you're not familiar with these types of statistics, you can look at a friend's stats book or look on some YouTube websites if you need further explanation. But basic descriptive statistics are given, such as frequencies and means. Most people would understand what a frequency is, so how often are participants selecting this answer, or what's the average answer given would be a mean. Most of your undergraduates' peers are going to be able to understand this information. So if you wanted to include frequencies and means within the text of your creative artifacts, you're welcome to do that. Correlation tables are very simple once you grasp it, but I wouldn't recommend including correlation statistics within the text of your document because taken out of context, it can be difficult for a reader to understand. But basically, correlations tell us how well variables are or are not associated with one another. So throughout the document, I took the time to highlight the statistics and provide an asterisk for those that are relevant. And we'll go through those together. Keep in mind, correlations can range between a -1 to a +1. So all correlation numbers will be either a -1 or positive. If something is a positive correlation, that means that every time a participant, that they're directly related, 100%. Every time a participant selects, yes, I will get a flu shot, and yes, I believe a flu shot would keep me from getting the flu. If they are always selecting those answers, the correlation would be 1. Versus if a participant was saying, no, I will not get a flu shot, and yes, I believe a flu shot would prevent the flu, that would be a negative correlation, so be a -1. So the closer that a correlation is to 1 means that the likelihood that those two answers are given in relation to one another. So keep that in mind. Okay, so this is what the frequency distribution tables look like. The question that was given was, is getting a flu shot a good thing? And then participants were able to either strongly disagree to strongly agree with this subject. The frequency is the number of participants who selected the answer provided. And then the valid percent is the percent of participants who answered this question, which agreed with the following statements. So 28.7% of participants strongly agree that getting a flu shot is a good thing. Don't keep in mind the percent column here. This is taking into consideration participants who answered another survey. So what we're looking at here is the valid percent, and you can see that that's out of a total of 100. The frequency distributions graph just let you see whether or not this is a normal distribution. So you can see here the mean was 3.9. So on average, most people are somewhat agreeing with this statement. a standard deviation is 1, and the number of participants who answered this question is 196. Okay. Oh, and just a little note that the variable here, flu_20 attitude, is what's related to this getting a flu shot is a good thing. So those variable names are consistent. Correlation tables are provided. So in this case, this correlation table looks at the beliefs with attitude, issue importance, behavioral intent, past behavior, and sex. So all of the highlights mean that they're statistically significant, and you can consider those. 1 asterisk means that they are significant at the 0.05 level, and 2 asterisks means that they're significant at the 0.01 level. Both are acceptable, but the 2 asterisks would mean they're more likely to represent the population. The higher the number means that it's a more positive correlation. So in this case, at least a 0.3 is significant or worthy. Less than a 0.3, you may consider picking a different statistic, but for example, this 0.6 looks really nice. So if you select a message that getting a flu shot promotes health and well-being, that's really positively correlated with someone's intent to get a flu shot. So you can keep those in mind as you go through. Lastly, the written assignment is provided for you, and this is due on December 1st. You just need to go through and answer these questions step by step. You don't need to create a separate file. You can just answer within the text. Use this as a roadmap to completing the assignment. So go ahead and start with a review of the theory, and then think of your theory in the context of asking someone to get a flu shot. How will these variables be applied in your call to action? And then once you have an idea of how you'd like to use the variables, go back into the data and see if the variables that you selected provide significant results. And then lastly, you would just create your document and answer some final questions. So if you take it in stages, this project should be rather manageable and easy to understand. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to look over your assignments in advance. All right, good luck as you complete the rest of this semester.